All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to SEO optimize your Shopify product so that they actually rank on page one of Google. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk you through setting up a brand new product on Shopify on my own store to show you an example of what it would look like to go through the whole process and SEO optimize the whole thing from A to Z. Now, there are 6 key points that you need to optimize whenever you add a product. So I'm going to go through each of those with you here in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my store and I'm going to go to products. I'm going to add a new product. The first thing that I recommend you optimize is the meta title, which is one of what I call 3 pillars of SEO. These are considered to be the 3 most important on-page factors when it comes to trying to get a website to rank. So the meta title is the title that's going to show up in the Google search results when you search for something. So let's say, for instance, we go to Google and we type in an example of the product I'm going to add, and you can see here this title. That is the meta title, and it also shows up in the tab on the browser as well. What's important to note about this title is that it needs to contain your main keyword that you're trying to get that page to rank for, because Google looks at the meta title to decide what that page is about and then whether it's going to rank it for that or not. Keep it below 65 characters, and the reason why is because you can see how this one's cut off. And that's because it's longer than 65 characters and it just gets cut off. And this can actually hurt your click-through rate. And then so indirectly can hurt your SEO, because if your click-through rate is lower, then you can actually rank lower as well. Now, the next thing is you need to make sure that they're unique on every single product and every page on your whole website. Whether it's a collection, a product, a page, they need to be unique. You don't want to have 2, because otherwise you're going to have 2 pages competing to rank for the same keyword, and you don't want that to happen because then both are just going to rank lower. That's called keyword cannibalization. If you want to know more about that, go watch my video on keyword cannibalization. There's a link above. You want to also use your meta titles to increase the CTR, so the click-through rate of your page, to get more people to actually click it. Now, one last note about meta description. I've included this in under the meta title because they kind of go together. Meta descriptions themselves won't help your SEO, but including the keyword will show it in bold, which can help your CTR. So what I mean by that is, if we take a look here, I typed in BC Racing coilovers, you can see BC Racing is bold and coilover is bold, because those are the keywords that were in my actual search, and so that can help make the results stand out and people to click it more. So if we go to the actual product page, if we scroll down and go to search engine listing, this is where you find the meta title and the description. So the page title is the meta title, and the meta description is obviously the description. So in this title, for this case, I'm adding BC Racing's BR Series coilovers for the 350Z. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put that keyword in the headline. So what I would recommend you do, firstly, is to identify what that main keyword exactly is. And for that, you're going to need something like SEMrush or another keyword tool. I personally use SEMrush and I recommend it. If you want to get it, I'm putting my affiliate link below this video. You'll get a 7-day free trial. You can do this, and then in theory, if you don't want to use it anymore, you could just cancel it. But you want to go in there and throw the keyword in and figure out what the actual keyword is, because you could have different variations or whatever. You want to try and get it to exactly as close as possible to whatever the keyword people are searching. So in this case, if I type in mine, you can see that this particular combination, BC Racing Coilovers 350Z, is the main keyword. If you look at 350Z BC Racing Coilovers, it might sound the same, but that order gets far less searches. So you want to try and get the exact order and the exact keywords that people search to try and get it as close as possible, because that's going to increase your chances of actually ranking for that keyword. Now, it doesn't mean you won't rank if you do it the other way, but it's good practice to try and get it exact. So you want to identify this, and then once you have it, so we've got this one, for instance, I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in here. Now we want to make this obviously properly formatted. So I would start like this and then put because the model is BR series of these particular coilovers, but you can see that I've got the exact keyword here, and it's also as far to the left as I can put it, because that can actually help increase the click-through rate as well, because people read from left to right, and so by putting on the left side, it's going to catch your attention more. So that helps to do that. And you can see it's below 65 characters. It's got all the keywords in it. It's also got the other variation as well, 350Z BC Racing. And now if there are any other keyword variations, you'd also want to try get that in there. So what you would do, you see BR coilover. So I've got BR in there now. What you can do is load them all up and have a look if there's another variation. If you can fit another variation in, do that as well. So I'll try and give you an example. You can see Nissan 350Z, so I've included the keyword Nissan here for exactly that reason, and BR series for exactly that reason. Now, in theory, we could do 53 millimeter if these are 53 millimeter coilovers, and if that's the keyword that you want to go for. You see we've got true rears as well, so in theory that's a type of them, so in theory you could do that and you can add that as well, or extreme lows, whichever particular type. But I'm going to stick to this for now because I think this is perfect for what I'm going for. Now in the meta description, again, this isn't going to affect your rankings, but like I said, you want to make sure that you include the keyword in there. So you could put something like, I'm going to go BC Racing VR series coilovers. Now, one other tip as well is if you capitalize all of these words, it's going to stand out more. So you want to do that as well. You could do 53 millimeter struts. That's a keyword that people are searching for. So if you're not going to put it in there, at least grab their attention by putting it in here. So if they do search, it'll go bold because you're most likely ranked for that since it's so low volume and low competition. Now, you would obviously want to make sure there is 53 mil, but I'm just giving you an example. You could do 03 to 08. I'll add that as well. And now in here as well, you could do something like buy online now, or free shipping, something along those lines. And these you want to keep under 160 characters. Now we've got the meta title and the description. So now we can move on to point 2, which is the URL. This is the second pillar of what I call the 3 pillars of SEO that I mentioned. This is also extremely important for SEO, so you need to make sure you get the URL right. Now there's 3 main points that you want to include. One is the main keyword in your URL. The second is that the URL slug shouldn't be more than 3 to 4 words max. There are instances if you can't fit it, you can do it 5 or 6, but beyond that, it doesn't look good and it's not great. If you take a look at any competitive search on Google, you will see they're all short, and that's because Google prefers to see that. And the third thing is you don't want to stuff keywords or double up on keywords in there. And what I mean by that is you don't want to have, like, let's say we're doing coilovers, you don't want to have slash coilovers, slash BC Racing coilovers, slash 350Z coilovers. Having the word in there too many times will actually do more harm than good. So if we go back to the Shopify store, to add the URL, you would go to the same section, the search engine listing, and we've got URL handle. Now in here, unfortunately, Shopify doesn't allow you to change much on the URL. You can't edit this whole beginning section, but you can edit the ending slug. So in this case, because this was so specific, I'm going to put this as the URL slug. And then you just want to put dashes in between them. And typically you want to just keep them all lowercase as well, which it should do automatically anyway. But you see now I've got my exact match keyword in the URL and it's only 4 words long, and that's what you want. So this is the URL that I would put for this particular product here. And that will make sure that I've got my exact match keyword in the URL, which is going to help you rank significantly. Now, number 3 is the H1 headline. So this is the third pillar, and this is a very similar principle. This is equally as important as the meta title and the URL. Those 3 combined is what Google looks at to figure out what this page is actually about, and then whether it's going to show it and how it ranks accordingly compared to all the other results. What you need to do is, again, include the main keyword in your H1 headline. Every product and every page should only have one H1 headline, but make sure it actually does have one. And each H1 headline should be unique across your whole site so that no 2 pages are competing. Note I want to make here is that you want to make sure that your theme actually includes an H1 headline. So sometimes what you will find, and I'll open a random product, this is supposed to be the H1 headline, but some themes haven't done this correctly and it won't be H1. You want to make sure it is. So what you want to do is hit right click, inspect, and then select this icon here, and you can hover over it, title, and it'll tell you here if it's H1 or not. You can see how here it's got this code where it says H1, and also if you hover over it, it should say H1 in the top left corner, as you can see there. That will tell you that this is actually H1, so you're good to go with that. You just want to double check. If you're using the Dawn theme, then you'll be fine. This is the Dawn theme, which is the default theme on Shopify, and it does have it set correctly for the product, so you'll be good to go there. So back into the product itself. This title, the main title at the top of the product, is where you would have the H1 headline. So in this case, again, if you can get the exact match keyword in there, bonus points. However, you also want to make sure that this actually reads correctly. So in this case, I'm going to put BC Racing. Now, in this case, I'm going to put it like this because we had the exact match in the meta title and the URL. I think in this case, it would be fine to have it not exact match in the H1 headline because it reads better like this. Because for this one, you need to make sure that the user experience is going to be good because users are actually going to be looking at this. So as long as you have the keywords in here and it reads well, you're more likely to keep people on the page and actually read the content and then potentially even buy a product. You're better off doing that than trying to maximize the keyword but making it worse on the user experience. because Google is now prioritizing user experience. So this is what you want to do here. Now, you're not typically limited by characters in the H1 headline. It could, in theory, be as long as you want, but obviously it's not going to look very good if you're writing a whole paragraph. So just try and keep it reasonable on there, so it's just telling them what the product actually is. Point number 4 is the content on the product. So you want to make sure that you have unique content relevant to the product on every product page. And now the problem with this is that a lot of stores have a lot of products, and so people get lazy and they just copy and paste content across all of the different products. That is an SEO issue, and that will actually harm you if you do that. So you want to make sure that you have unique content on every page. Now, we have AI tools like ChatGPT and things like that, so if you need to, use that to spin up the content that's relevant to each specific product. Now, if your shop is smaller and you've got very specific products, then obviously you're going to be better off there because you can handle that easier. If it's a shop like what I'm setting up, where there's literally hundreds or thousands of variations of different car models and brands and all this stuff, then you're just going to have to find a way to make them unique. If not, then you're going to suffer basically. And because everyone else is also just copy and pasting all the content, usually from the manufacturer's website, if you make unique content, it's going to give you a huge boost up above them because they're not doing it. Now, the other thing is you want to include H2 and H3 headlines with variations in the headlines within the content. And most people don't do this either. So that's also going to give you a big benefit. I'm going to show you what I mean by that in a second. You want to use competitors to get an idea of what content Google actually wants to see. So you would go on Google, you would search your keyword, click open a couple of the results and see what content they have. And that will give you an idea of what you should put on your page. Now, one other thing is that FAQs can be a great way to get more keyword variations in the H2 and H3 headlines. If we go back to my product, this is where you would add the description in here. And so here's where you want to put that content. So it would be something like, I'm obviously not going to write out all the content here in front of you and spend half an hour on this video. However, you would write out some content on here to do with the product, basically selling them and why this product is good. Now, what I meant by H2 and H3 is you could do something like this: specs, right? And then in here, I could have a specs list, and this could be the H2. And so now what we have here is you could have specs, you could have details, whatever. But see, now I've got the exact match keyword, BC Racing coilover, in an H2 headline. And so that's going to help to make this page even more relevant for that specific keyword, especially since it's not actually in the H1. Now, you don't want to copy exactly on every headline. You want to put variation. So in a different one, you could have, for instance, like let's say, for instance, we mentioned true rear and divorce rear. Now, you don't have to know what that exactly means, but the point is that is a keyword. So for instance, under specs, you could have like true rear. That could be a H3, and you could have the specs for the true rears under here. And then I could do divorced rear and then have that as an H3 as well. And then have the specs for that below it also. And so now I've got these keywords also in the H3, which is making this page even more relevant because now that's also in a headline which Google looks at. They read these headlines and look at the keywords in them. So this is an example of how you could fit all of these different keyword variations into all the headlines and make the page more relevant for all these variations, which is going to give you a huge advantage over everyone else who has not done this on their description. So you are much more likely to actually rank as a result. Now, I mentioned the FAQs as well. The last thing it could be is something like FAQ and put that as an H2, and then you can have an H3 headline. Like, that's just an example answer, but that is what that could look like. And now if we take a look at the product, you can go have a look and you'll see that, you've got your product here. We obviously don't have an image, so it's displaying not quite like it would, but now you got your H1 headline up here. Now you got your H2 headline here with the specific keyword in it. Then you got these two variation keywords in it. Now you got another keyword with FAQs and another one. And we are already, just with this, so far ahead of basically everyone on Google that it's so likely this is going to rank if you've even done this remotely correctly and the rest of your site's optimized even like half properly. So that's why you want to do this, because it's going to give you a huge advantage, like I've said now multiple times. And it's because most people are lazy and they don't do this, or they just don't know. So do this and it's going to help you a lot. Point number 5 is images and alt text. So let's go back to our product. What you need to make sure is that the file size is not too big. You don't want to have a 4 megabyte image because that's going to make this product load slow and that's going to hurt your SEO. Now, Shopify does optimize the images as much as they can. I believe they use the WebP format, which helps to bring the whole size down. However, if you're still uploading a ginormous image, it's still going to load slow. So what you want to do is make sure that it's not too big. Typically speaking, 1,000 pixels or less in width is usually good enough. It doesn't need to be billboard size because no one's going to open it that big. But the other thing is, though, you still want the images to be high quality. So you don't want like pixelated rubbish that makes the store look cheap. You want to make sure that the image still looks good and the image is actually high quality. Just make sure it's not too large. Now, what you want to do is make sure you include your keyword in the image's alt text, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But also, don't just stuff your keyword in the alt text. You want it to look natural. So I'm going to walk you through that now. So what you would do is you would go back to your product. you want to go here to image. I'm just going to upload the image. What you want to do is click on the image. And when you click on it, it's going to open this window. And what you want to do is now hit add alt text. Now, with the alt text, what you need to do is describe what this image actually is. And I mean that literally. You don't want to just put BC Racing Coilovers 350Z, although in this case, it would actually be appropriate because that's literally what it is. But let's say, for instance, you've got like a picture of a woman wearing a hat, just modeling it in front of a beach. You don't want to just put like whatever the name of the hat model is. You would want to put like woman modeling the specific hat while sitting on a beach. You see what I'm saying? You get the keyword in there, but you're actually describing it, what it is. And then that helps Google to categorize what this image is actually about. And then it's actually much more likely to rank. And what you might find is that the actual image itself ranks in the Google image search, which can get you more traffic as well. Now, in this case, because it is specifically a picture of the product, I'm just going to put BC Racing coilover kit for the Nissan 350Z. And you can see how that's now not keyword stuffing, but it includes all the keywords. And that's what I would do in this particular case. I'll hit save alt text, and that's it. Now you got the alt text, now you got the image, you'd hit save, and now you can open your product, and now you'll have the image there as well. And you can obviously add more than one image if you want. That's perfectly fine. And you just do the same thing. You would hit add new image, and you just make the alt text appropriate for each image. Don't copy and paste the same alt text on all of them. Vary them up a bit. Now, the final thing is internal linking, and this is one that pretty much all Shopify stores overlook, except some really good ones that are done properly. Basically, what you want to do is create a silo structure by internal linking your products and your collections together. Now, this helps to prioritize the different pages and also gives you a chance to make internal links with the correct anchor text to each page, which helps Google to figure out what each page is about, which one is relevant for which keyword, which helps you actually rank. Internal links are one of the most important things you can do for SEO, and most people don't do them. So you really want to pay attention to this. It really can make a big difference in how your website ranks. Now, what you want to do is keep the internal linking across different silos to a minimum. Now, I have videos on silos and Shopify internal linking. I'm going to put the links up above, first to the silo video, and then next to the Shopify internal linking video. I highly suggest you go and watch those two because they're incredibly important for this, because this is really going to make a big difference in terms of how your website ranks. Now, I'm just going to give you an example of what I would mean by this. So if we go back to the Shopify store, you would go to the description, let's say here, and now you could internal link keywords within this description to particular pages on your website that are the most appropriate. So now, in this case, because this is a product that's under a category of BC Racing Coilovers, which is a brand which is under the main category that's coilovers, what I would do is I would link this product to the BC Racing Coilovers sub-collection, if that makes sense, which is going to be BC Racing. I'm just going to open this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this text to that subcategory, which is this one, the collection BC Racing. I'm going to hit insert link, and now I'm going to save. And now what I have is an internal link going from the product to that collection page. Now I'm going to give you an example of this done already. I've already done this on a different product in a different category, which is already set up. So I'm going to show you what that would look like. Now, I've covered this in that other video, so I highly recommend you go check it out. But basically, what you would have is, let's say we go to my website, I've opened up the main coilovers category. So this is the main top level collection that I want to use. Now you can see here that I've got links to brands. Now I haven't set up the BC Racing one, but I'll show you this one, the Megane Racing one. So I've got a link from the main collection to Megane Racing, which is a collection I want as a sub-collection under that, because it's one brand of that type of product. And then within that one, I see I'm linking back to the main coilovers page with the correct keyword. And under this one, I also have products. And so now when I click one of these products, let's say this one, this product now links back to the Megane Racing Coilovers, which is the sub-collection we were just on here. So you can see how there's now links going down and links going up that particular silo. And so that really helps Google understand what's relevant to what keywords each page is relevant for, and then in turn ranks it accordingly. Now, this is something that you will find most Shopify and other e-commerce stores have not done. So if you do this, it's really going to give you a huge advantage. That's it for this video. These are the main key points you need to know when optimizing products on your Shopify store. If you do this, you're going to be ahead of like 99% of other stores and most likely rank on page one as long as you've done everything else correctly. So I highly recommend you go watch all my other videos. I've got a whole series on Shopify on how to optimize all parts of the Shopify store as well as run Google ads. So I recommend recommend go watch those videos. If you want me to coach you on how to optimize your Shopify store and run ads to it profitably for only $49 a month, go to learndominatemarketing.com. And if you would like us to do your SEO or even run ads to your Shopify store, go to dominatemarketing.io and book a call with us there. Catch you on the next one.